He was a celebrated author, a symbol of second chances, a man who claimed to have conquered his dark past. Jack Unterweger was hailed as a reformed soul, a literary star who had once served time for murder, and now inspired others with his words. Police didn't suspect him at first. How could they? He was a success story, a man the world had forgiven. But while he stood on stages and signed autographs, women were disappearing. Their bodies were turning up in forests, under bridges, and in alleys, strangled with their own bras. But the truth was far more terrifying. Jack Unterweger wasn't just a former killer. He was a serial killer, hiding in plain sight. He grew up poor, neglected, and angry. By the time he was in his 20s, Jack had already committed theft, assault, and multiple violent crimes. Let's go back to where it all began. He sexually assaulted her and strangled her with her own bra. In 1990, after serving us 15 years, Jack Unterweger was released from prison. The courts believed he had been rehabilitated. For that crime, he was sentenced to life in prison. Jack was born in 1950 in Austria, to a mother who was a sex worker and a father who was reportedly an American soldier. Then in 1974, he was convicted of murdering an 18-year-old German woman named Margaret Schaefer. The method was chillingly familiar. All had been strangled, often with their own underwear. But while behind bars, something changed. Or at least, that's what the world believed. One of his autobiographies, Fegefeuer oder die Reise in Zuchthaus, Purgatory or The Trip to Prison, became a bestseller in Austria. He even rode along with police in Los Angeles as a guest journalist while women were going missing in the city. Intellectuals, artists, even politicians began to admire his work. They called him a genius, a man redeemed. At first, they thought he was just being thorough. Later, they realized he was gauging how close the police were to catching him. Jack began writing. He poured his time into poetry, plays, and novels. A campaign for his release gained momentum. He had fooled prison psychologists, he had fooled the justice system. And now, he was fooling the public again. They matched the timeline, the locations, and the victims. In total, Jack Unterweger is suspected of killing at least 11 women between 1990 and 1992, though some believe the real number could be higher. But in 1992, he was finally arrested in Miami, along with his girlfriend. It was a fatal mistake. Jack became a celebrity almost overnight. He hosted radio shows, attended literary festivals, appeared on television. He had hanged himself, using a rope he tied in the same knot he used on his victims. He gave speeches about prison reform and violence against women. A man who used literature to build a mask of redemption, while hiding the truth that he was still a killer. But within months of his release, women began dying. Between 1990 and 1992, sex workers in Austria, Czechoslovakia, and even the United States were turning up dead. Journalists from around the world watched as the man once praised for his artistic soul now stood accused of horrific violence. The evidence was overwhelming. Phone records, fibers, even witnesses who had seen him with the victims. At first, the killings seemed unrelated, different cities, different countries. But detectives eventually noticed a pattern and one common thread. Jack Unterweger had visited, or lived in, each city where a murder occurred. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious. Even more disturbing, Jack had been writing crime articles for newspapers at the time. He often reported on the very murders he committed. It was the perfect cover. He was investigating his own crimes. One of the LAPD detectives later recalled that Jack asked strange, detailed questions, like how much DNA evidence was kept at a scene, or how long before bodies decomposed. Despite the growing suspicion, Jack was charming, educated, and calculating. But the evidence was building. In Austria, police finally connected the dots. As the investigation closed in, Jack fled. He traveled through Switzerland, France, and eventually ended up in the United States again. He was extradited back to Austria and charged with 11 murders. During his trial, the courtroom was packed. Still, Jack remained calm, confident, even smug. He believed he could talk his way out again. He couldn't. In 1994, he was found guilty of 9 counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison, this time without parole. But he didn't stay in prison long. Just hours after the verdict, Jack Unterweger was found dead in his cell. It was a final, twisted signature. Jack Unterweger remains one of the most chilling examples of manipulation in modern criminal history. He was intelligent, persuasive, and deadly. Some say his crimes were a way of mocking the system that freed him. Others believe he never changed at all. In the end, Jack wasn't just a murderer, he was a mirror, showing us how easily society can be deceived when we choose to see what we want to believe. A second chance can sometimes cost lives. If this case left you stunned, leave a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more real crime cases.